What is up, Maniacs, and welcome to Broadened Horizon. I'm your host, as always, Drake Riggs, here to bring you a Champ exclusive episode 22 to close out 2022. Kicking things off, we're joined by one of the best to ever do it, current Bellator featherweight champion, Patricio Pitbull Freire. Pitbull makes his promotional debut in a big champion versus champion co-main event at Rizin 40 on New Year's Eve, opposite Rizin title holder Kleber Koike. Then we have the return of the atomweight queen, reigning Rizin 108-pound and Deep Jewels strawweight champion, Seika Izawa. Starflower chatted about her big Grand Prix Finals rematch with Siwoo Park, as well as the overall tournament experience. Then lastly, the aforementioned Kleber Koike stops by for the first time since becoming champion as he tries to make a strong laid case for Fighter of the Year. Thanks as always to all the guests for chatting, and thanks to everyone who has supported the show and asked questions for the end. Whether you've been watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, don't forget to hit like and share if you enjoy. First up, we have the Bellator GOAT, Patricio Pitbull. The champ is here. How are you doing, Patricio?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, just how's the day been treating you? Like, what kind of point in training camp are you in? Just, how's things been looking right now?
Como estão sendo as coisas para você? Em que ponto do seu camp você está agora? E como é que as coisas estão se desenvolvendo para você aí no caminho da luta?
Estou na reta final, viajo amanhã para Tóquio. Agora é só levar a máquina com segurança para casa e tentar ficar saudável o máximo que eu puder e tirar o peso. Tá tudo indo certo, o peso está na faixa do esperado, a lesão está controlada e a estratégia está bem montada. Vamos lá fazer um grande show.
I'm on the last stretch of the camp. I'm flying to Tokyo tomorrow. I'm arriving in Japan a little bit earlier. And my weight is on point. It's where we expect it to be. So now all we have to do is to keep fine-tuning the machine and not do anything risky. Just control the weight cut and manage how it all go. No injuries, everything is under control. So all we have to do is keep things going smoothly until the day of the fight.
Absolutely, man. Very exciting to hear. Can't wait for it. And I mean, it's just such a cool thing, that you're getting to be a part of, the big Bellator versus Rizin kind of idea, the team versus team a little bit, promotion versus promotion. I just got to wonder, Patricio, like, I know you've obviously been following Rizin a little bit, watching your brother when he was in there, but just kind of what was your initial reaction and like the excitement when, Bellator and Scott Coker came to you with the idea of, being part of something like this?
Queria saber como foi sua reação inicial. Ok.
Vou tentar responder em inglês. I'm gonna try to speak,
Okay.
answer that question in English. That was nice, I was thinking about that when I was child and was watching Pride, and a lot of idols in Brazil was fighting there, and now it's my time. And when Mike Koga and Scott Coker told it to me, it was a very good moment, and I will enjoy that moment for sure.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, speaking of the Pride legends and whatnot, did you have any favorites? I'm sure Vanderlei was everyone's, the Nogueira brothers. Like, who kind of stood out to you when you were watching?
Quem eram os seus favoritos do Pride? Eles que sabem que Vanderlei e os irmãos Nogueira, né, chamavam atenção com certeza, mas quem eram os seus favoritos na época do Pride?
Emelianenko Fedor, Minotauro, Minotouro, os irmãos Rua, Paulão Filho, Arona, muitos brasileiros faziam um grande show lá, Shogun, muito bom. Gostava muito de assistir. Ricardo Arona.
E
Vanderlei, ele já falou.
Yeah, so
Vanderlei, ele já falou.
Yes, so those names that you mentioned, Emelianenko Fedor, the Nogueira brothers, Vanderlei, the Rua brothers, Shogun and Ninja, Paulo Filho, Ricardo Arona. There are many great names in Pride, many great Brazilian names that made history in Pride, and I love to watch them fight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Can't go wrong with a lot of those guys, total legends. And you're yourself are a legend now, and getting ready to kind of join the list a little bit, at least in terms of the Brazilians fighting in Japan. So it's very exciting. And just as for this matchup here with the Rising champ, Kleber Koike, who just recently became the champion. I gotta wonder, Patricio, like how familiar are you with him? He's been around for a good bit, but hasn't fought too much in America or anything like that. But just how familiar are you with him, and what do you think of him, as an opponent here?
Certamente tiveram grandes nomes no Brasil que fizeram história lá no Pride, e nomes que estão passando a fazer história agora, como Kleber Koike, que acabou de ganhar o cinturão. O público americano não é muito familiarizado com ele. Eu queria saber se você já conhecia ele, né, já acompanhava ele antes, e o que é que você pensa do desafio que ele vai ser na luta.
Já acompanhava sim, ele é um grande lutador, ele tem um número expressivo de vitórias por finalização, são 27, e é um cara que luta no estilo aí de um jiu-jiteiro quando vai para o combate de MMA, né? Ele mostra uma certa passividade que na verdade é um truque que ele usa para que os seus adversários se soltem e acabam sendo estrangulados por ele. Então a minha expectativa é muito boa, esse choque de organizações vai fazer muito bem ao esporte, eu espero que aconteça cada vez mais, essa tenha sido a porta de entrada dos próximos desafios de campeões contra campeões.
Yeah, I knew who he was before. He has a very good resume. He has 27 wins by submission and a similar game to Charles Bronx. Sometimes he pretends to be hit to have the fight go into the ground, and then he surprises his opponent. So I have to pay attention to that. This moment, the fight between two champions of different organizations, the cross promotion of Bellator and Rising. I hope this is the first of many. I believe we're making history in the sport, and something that the fans will really enjoy.
Oh yeah, for sure. I hope that we definitely get more and more of these to continue. Make it a New Year's Eve kind of special. That would be a fun thing. But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, obviously Kleber, phenomenal jiu-jitsu. Kind of, it's no secret what he wants to do every time. Like Charles, as you mentioned, there has that in his back pocket. So I'm kind of curious, Patricio, like when you're going against these specialists here like him who are so good at one specific thing, like is that tougher to fight those guys, would you say, or is it maybe easier because you know exactly what to expect? I don't know, just how do you approach kind of these specialist fighters who are very, very good at one aspect of mixed martial arts, maybe more than the others?
Quando você enfrenta um cara...
Sempre é mais difícil lutar contra especialistas, porque eles tendem a forçar o caminho da luta para onde eles são bons. Então sempre é mais difícil lutar contra especialistas. Os caras mais completos, eles aceitam qualquer aspecto que a luta for. E o cara especialista não, ele vai forçar realmente ir para aquele lado que ele é melhor, e acaba que complica mais um pouco. Então essa é uma dificuldade que eu com certeza vou...
Yeah, of course I believe it's harder to fight a specialist because he will do everything to take the fight to where he's comfortable and where he excels at. So you have to take extra measures not to let the fight flow the way they want to. And once you get there, you have a much harder time than someone who is just a well-rounded fighter. So definitely fighting a specialist is harder to prepare for than someone who does everything.
Okay, all right, interesting. And just I'm sure you'll have a better answer for this after you fight him. But with that considered, just the nature of him as a challenge, like where do you kind of rank him amongst all the opponents you fought? Because you fought, pretty much everybody, Patricio, all the best guys out there. Where does he kind of rank ahead of the fight, you would say, amongst your toughest challenges?
É óbvio que você vai poder responder isso melhor após você lutar contra ele. Mas onde ele fica ali no ranking dos seus adversários mais duros?
Essa é uma pergunta interessante. Eu não sei quantificar isso, que eu nunca enfrentei um cara que tem quase 30 finalizações. Então, isso me chamou bastante atenção e é um grande nome, com certeza. Não é qualquer um que consegue esse número grandioso. Não, não sei, ele está com certeza um grande desafio para mim.
That's a very interesting question, and right now I really don't know how to quantify that because I never faced an opponent that had almost 30 wins by submission. So that's something very impressive to achieve, and he's pretty up there as far as his accomplishments. And I'll certainly know more after we fight.
Yeah, we'll have to circle back on that one, but I know, of course, was just curious. And I mean, have you had to prepare any differently at all for fighting in a ring rather than a cage, Patricio? Is that something you've thought about?
Você teve que fazer algo diferente na sua preparação em relação a estar lutando no ringue ao invés de um cage?
Oh yes, I was used to train for USA rules with elbows not kick on the ground, so I have to adapt that and put that on my game, and it will make me remember the old times when I debuted in Vale Tudo. It's not MMA, it was Vale Tudo, and I feel great doing that because in the beginning of my career, I was fighting that rule and it was amazing. And now we're gonna put all that rule together and make a big fight. So I'm very excited and let's do a big show to everyone.
Yeah, man. And has Patricky given you any kind of little tips or bits of advice for fighting under kind of those rules, or kind of refreshing you a little bit on what to expect out there?
Patrick, ele deu algum conselho em relação a lutar nessas regras, as diferenças que vão ter lá na hora do ringue e tudo mais?
Patrick made me watch a lot of fights from Shogun Rua. Doing that.
Yeah, can't go wrong there, man. I mean, you're going to get those soccer kicks off and the stomps if they're open. I'm sure that would feel good.
That's nice.
And it's interesting too, Patricio, like this is a champion versus champion fight, right? But it's a non-title fight, of course, because you guys will have to, go and defend your belts and whatnot afterward. But I'm kind of curious, like, from your perspective, would it be nice for you to be able to, take the title? Like if you beat him, would you like to maybe rematch in an actual title fight so that you can, become the official Rizin champion? Or is that something you just kind of don't care about? You'll focus on the Bellator side of things. How do you feel about just kind of that aspect?
Em relação à luta, não, os cinturões não estão em jogo, né? Dependendo do resultado, você gostaria de fazer uma segunda luta que o cinturão do Rizin viesse a estar em jogo, ou o seu foco é no lado do Bellator? Quer focar no seu cinturão?
Eu amo lutar no Japão, nunca lutei, mas com certeza eu gosto daquela atmosfera. Acompanhei meu irmão, estive lá agora para anunciar a luta. Então eu amo aquele lugar e todas as vezes que me chamarem para lutar, se o Bellator permitir, eu estarei entrando em ação. Eu sei que não vai valer título, o Bellator e o Rizin estavam decidindo em relação a isso, em algum tipo de unificação ou algum tipo de cinturão simbólico pela disputa entre campeões. Eu espero que façam, dá tempo. Eu acho que o mais difícil eles conseguiram foi colocar campeão contra campeão, organização contra organização, e é algo que já está na história e é mais grandioso até do que um título de apenas uma organização. É uma luta que vai ser está sendo um grande passo para o esporte. Estou muito feliz de estar aqui.
Cortou o começo, você disse que gostaria de lutar pelo cinturão, foi isso no começo?
Não.
Tá. I'm very happy to be fighting in Japan. So to me, all this that's happening on the other side, it's already very big, and it's been my objective ever since I was a kid to fight in Japan. I was there when my brother fought, and I loved the crowd. I loved the atmosphere and everything. And I would love to come back to Japan to fight more times. I think we're having to start something pretty big with Bellator and Rising, and I hope the sport takes us more to those kinds of opportunities. And if I get to fight in Japan again, I'll be pretty happy with it.
Yeah, man, would love to see it, and just can't wait to get this first one, going. It's going to be a very fun night. Can't beat New Year's Eve in general. That's always a good time. But what you can't beat also is winning. Patricio, you've been very good at that. Coming off a fantastic title defense against Adam Boric, and then before that, you got your redemption against AJ McKee. So, I want to ask you, man, it seemed like after the loss to AJ, a lot of people started to kind of write you off, which obviously not fair, with the resume you have and the status you have as one of the best ever. So I got to ask you, how satisfying was it for you, after that fight, to kind of shut up the doubters, beat AJ again and then defend against Adam and show everybody that you're still here, these kind of things happen, but it doesn't mean that you're done. How satisfying has that been for you to continue to show that, you're still one of the best out there?
Ele falou das coisas que você conseguiu na sua carreira, né, e dos seus resultados. Você chegou a perder o cinturão, depois você pegou de volta, defendeu tudo, e quão satisfatório é para você, né, de conseguir ser um dos lutadores que mais coisas conquistou na carreira, no esporte da MMA.
É importante estar com muitos feitos dentro do esporte, né? Eu não sou tão mais novo e cheguei numa idade já que o desafio acaba se tornando maior quando você encontra lutadores ferozes como o Edima aqui e você pegar um cara invicto como ele, tirar o selo, dar uma derrota para ele na altura do campeonato, é algo grandioso realmente. E não parei por aqui, tenho muita história para contar. Essa próxima luta é uma coisa que eu gostaria de realmente ter no meu currículo como esportista, e espero que eu continue conseguindo fazer grandes espetáculos aí dentro do esporte, trazendo muita felicidade para o meu país.
I'm not young anymore, and I keep reinventing myself to accomplish things and set new records. I had a young fighter coming up who got a win over me, who was AJ McKee, and then I went in there and got the belt again. Some of these things that I believe define what I've accomplished in the sport, and there are many other things that I believe I can still achieve, and I hope that I can still do it for a long time, and I believe there are many more things to come.
Yeah, man, I'm kind of glad that you mentioned that because you've been around for so long already and accomplished so much, Patricio. We love watching you fight, but, just in terms of the accomplishments and whatnot, you've really done it all. This is a new thing you're obviously doing with, going over to Japan and Rising and, fighting another champion. This kind of, a different thing here and a good goal to achieve. But aside from that, you've done it all, man. Double champ, you name it. Most wins in Bellator history. The list goes on and on. So, how much longer do you kind of envision yourself fighting? I know you just said, you want to go as long as you can, but I mean, do you kind of think about that now with what's left to achieve for you, man?
Com todas as coisas que você já conquistou e você está tendo agora esse desafio Bellator contra o Rising, você fala que você quer lutar ainda por um bom tempo. Por quanto tempo mais você se vê lutando? Quanto tempo mais você acha que vai durar a sua carreira? E o que mais você se vê conquistando na sua carreira?
Glover Teixeira tem sido uma inspiração para mim. A gente viu ele pegar o título com 42 anos. Então, eu tenho uma vida de campeão, acredito que eu posso render por muito tempo ainda, se as lesões permitirem, e que tudo indica que elas estão bem controladas. Enquanto eu me achar competitivo, dentro da minha academia, com meus colegas de treino, conseguir ainda bater caras como o Jim aqui, lutar por 5 rounds daquele jeito, eu acho que eu vou continuar tentando. Então, quando eu perceber que eu não sou mais capaz, aí eu acho que será a vez de botar um freio e começar a lutar contra adversários que têm a história parecida com a minha, caras que estão chegando na idade também, que fizeram algo parecido com o que eu fiz no esporte, Então, acho que abre várias possibilidades. Então, vamos ver o que o futuro nos guarda.
Glover Teixeira, he's 43 years old now and had just won the title. He's going to fight to get it back. He's been a very big inspiration to me due to his durability in the sport and still fighting on a high level. You just saw me put on a great performance against AJ McKee for 5 rounds, and now Adam Borish. And as long as I can still compete at this level, as long as I can still go strong for 5 rounds, I believe I'll still be around. My injuries, of course, you get some injuries around your career for when you fight for so long, but they are under control. And we'll see what the future holds. I'm in no rush to retire. I will be here as long as I can still compete at a high level and stay at the top of the food chain. So we'll see what the future reserves for me. You can be sure that I'll be looking to add some new records and accomplishments to my resume to then.
All right, love to hear it, man. And you mentioned kind of the Vale Tudo days, back then and all. So I kind of want to, reflect a little bit, Patricio. I'm curious, like when you look back on kind of starting out in your career and everything, like what do you remember the most about like those early days, like on the Brazilian regional scene? Does anything specific stand out to you when you look back at starting your career?
Quando você olha para o início da sua carreira, né? Você já está lutando há muito tempo. O que é que você mais se lembra do início da sua carreira, daquelas suas primeiras lutas, os primeiros momentos que você botou os pés no esporte?
Eu lembro dos meus treinadores, Bruno e Bosco, que já faleceram, e todas as dificuldades que a gente passou para estar aqui. A gente já lutou de graça, a gente já levou calote, a gente ia todo dia de bicicleta para academia, a gente rodava 20 km para ir treinar. Então, foram momentos difíceis, mas que valeu a pena. Então, guardo isso bastante carinho no meu coração.
I fondly remember my late coaches, Bruno Gouveia and Alexandre Bosco, who are not with us anymore. And that me and my brother, sometimes we fought for free. We would go by bicycle 15 miles to go and to return every day to train. All those things we did to accomplish our dreams, our goals to one day be where we're at. So those memories are very fond to me.
I can imagine, man. The hard work has definitely paid off. So led you to a great spot. Both you guys for sure. So it's very cool to see and hear about. But all right, Patricio, before I let you go here, man, just 2 more questions for you. I appreciate the time always. But, we mentioned AJ, who you're kind of on the same team as this time going into New Year's Eve. It's kind of funny, you guys fighting each other and now teaming up a little bit in a way to take out Ryzen. He's got a very similar matchup to you and Satoshi. Like Satoshi and Kleber obviously are teammates and both phenomenal jiu-jitsu guys. But, having prepared for Kleber in your own way and then fought AJ, how do you think AJ is going to do against Satoshi? Because, again, like I said, very similar kind of fight that you have ahead of yourself.
Agora, umas 2 perguntas para você. No final do ano, vocês são rivais, mas vocês basicamente estão no mesmo time, né? Que é a Bellator contra a Ryzen. E AJ McKee tem uma luta muito similar à sua, que ele vai enfrentar Roberto Satoshi. E como você vê essa luta dele contra Satoshi no final do ano?
Edima aqui, ele sempre bota o mesmo espetáculo quando ele está lutando. Ele é muito agressivo, muito explosivo. E a gente sabe que o Satoshi é muito perigoso no chão, mas eu acredito que Edima aqui também não vai ter receio de entrar nesse jogo também, porque ele também tem um jiu-jitsu muito afiado, então ele vai tentar botar um grande show lá no Japão, como ele sempre vem fazendo nas lutas, com certeza. Mas tem que ficar de olho, porque o Satoshi é um adversário à altura e não está para brincadeira. A gente viu que Tofik Musaev, em sua última derrota, em sua última disputa de título no Japão, foi finalizado por Satoshi. Então, é um lutador a ser levado em consideração e deve ser respeitado.
AJ McKee always does the same spectacle. Every fight, he always comes on to put on a show and put a strong performance. He has a very good ground game too, but he's facing Satoshi, and that's a guy that he has to take very seriously. He's been submitting a lot of people in Japan, and that's a guy that you can't play against. We've seen him when he got the title. He submitted. Tofik Musaev very fast, and everyone know how great of a fighter Tofik Musaev is. So it's gonna be an interesting fight and a very dangerous one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So we'll see how that shakes out. And it's going to be a fun one regardless, though. So, all right, Patricio, last thing I'll leave you with here, man. You know, the Pitbull nickname, it's something that we've seen a lot. For a lot of people in MMA, I guess, have it. You know, there's Andrei Arlovsky, Thiago Alves. Well, several people have used it, but nobody has kind of made the Pitbull name as famous as you and your brother, obviously. So I'm kind of curious, man, like, what's the story behind it? How did you guys, you know, become the Pitbulls in the first place? I've never actually heard this story.
Tem muitos Pitbulls no esporte, né? Como Arlovsky, alguns Thiago Pitbull, outros aí, mas ninguém fez o nome Pitbull tão famoso quanto você e seu irmão. E eu queria saber qual a história de vocês terem ganho esse apelido. Acho que eu nunca ouvi como foi que esse apelido foi colocado em vocês.
Primeiro de tudo, obrigado por nos colocar numa prateleira acima desses lutadores que você falou aí. Eu, quando mais novo, também acompanhei a trajetória desses lutadores, eles são grandes nomes. E obrigado por isso. Na época do jiu-jitsu, a gente tinha um estilo muito agressivo, e a gente eu sou menor, né, e o Pitbull, o Pitbull mais agressivo de todos, hoje existe vários tipos de Pitbull, mas na época o Pitbull mais agressivo de todos era aquele magrelo da cabeça grande, então, são os menores, né? Então, meu irmão se tornou Pitbull e eu fui chamado por Pitbullzinho, por um professor nosso de jiu-jitsu chamado Roldão. Então, esse cara nos trouxe esse apelido e até então nunca mais saiu. Então, pegou faz desde 99, 2000 mais ou menos. Mais ou menos 21 anos aí com esse apelido.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for putting us in a higher place than all those names that you mentioned that have the nickname Pitbull. It's an honor for me because I've watched them coming up. And how we got this nickname, it was one of our former BJJ coaches. His name is Roldão. And today you have many types of Pitbull, but back then the most aggressive was a skinny one with a big head. So that was my brother. And then he became Pitbull. And as I was his younger brother, I became Little Pitbull. So everyone started knowing us from that, and it's been 21 years since then.
There you go. And like I said, iconic, man. You guys really are the most notable Pitbulls, I think. Definitely made it something that stands out. So it's a very cool and a very good story there, man. So, all right, Patricio. Well, I will leave you to it, sir. You know, I'm very excited for this big event. Very excited to watch you fight. Always appreciate you taking the time and wish you the best of luck. Wish you safe travels. Hope you get to enjoy, you know, not just a great atmosphere and event and all that, but a happy holidays and New Year's over there, since I'm sure you'll be sticking around to enjoy a little bit of the scenery afterwards. So I hope you get to enjoy that and whatnot. So I just appreciate it, man, and can't wait for it. Best of luck, sir.
Ele agradeceu tudo, desejou bom final de ano, Natal, Ano Novo. Acredito que você deve aproveitar alguma coisa lá no Japão. E toda a entrevista, as informações, as coisas que você compartilhou agora.
Obrigado, desejo a mesma coisa para ele e fica ligado na luta, vai ser um show. Obrigado pelas palavras. É um prazer.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be talking with you. And keep an eye on the fight. It's going to be a show for all the fans. Thank you.
Next up, Starflower is back, the reigning Ryzen Super Atomweight Champion and Deep Jewel Strawweight Champion, Seika Izawa. All right, well, it is good to see you as always, champ. Just how are you doing today on this, what is it, Tuesday for you, right?
Yes. 伊沢さん、いつもお時間取ってインタビュー答えてくれてありがとうございます。今日、火曜日なんですが、今日の調子はいかがでしょ
今日は、そうですね。いつも通り普通です。
Yeah, I feel fine, just as normal, just as usual.
Awesome to hear. And, with the tournament going on, we're getting close to wrapping up here. Do you get much time to do like other activities and relax a little bit between these camps, or is it kind of too close for you you just kind of have to focus on the training? What has kind of life been like for you since this got started and everything?
今年グランプリが始まって、いよいよ、大詰めなんですけれども、今年のグランプリをやっていく中で、自分の時間っていうものは結構作れたりしてますか？それとももう試合がずっと決まっているので、もう今年はどっちかというともう練習と試合に集中しているという感じなのか、ちょっとそこら辺教えてください。
そうですね。試合、結構コンスタントにあるので、試合に向けて練習してる時間が長いんですけど、その中でも、試合直後とかに息抜きとかで遊びに行ったりしてます。
So yeah, with the Grand Prix and your matches constantly lined up, it's really hard to kind of get my own time. But within that tight schedule, I've managed to make some time to, go out and rewind. So I've been able to manage some time to get some time off after fights.
All right, very cool, very cool. And I see you're letting the hair grow a little bit, Seika. You always do the nice star pattern for the fights. Are you going to let it grow a little bit? Gonna do anything fancy for this next fight on New Year's Eve?
伊沢選手、試合に向けて、ちょっと髪の毛伸ばしてますか？編み込みをやるための部分ってやられてるんでしょうか？
そうですね。なんか、いつも試合ないと切らないんですけど、今回3ヶ月空いてちょっとずつ伸びちゃってるので、全部編み込もうかなって思ってます。
So usually I don't trim my hair when I don't have fights. So it's been about 3 months since my last fight. So I do feel that my hair is kind of long, but I will be weaving in some shapes leading up to this fight.
Awesome. Always kind of fun to see you do that. And I mean, was that your idea in the first place, or did one of your teammates mention, hey, you should, do this design in your hair? How did this it's a tradition now, a little trend you got going?
伊沢選手の髪型というものについてはいつも楽しみに、着目しているんですが、これを一番最初にやり出しとったのって伊沢選手のアイディアなんですか？それふうに言ってそれを取り入れたのか、どういうふうにしてやり始めたんでしょう？
最初、ライジンに出るときに始めたんですけど、大晦日で自分いつも髪の毛そのまま出てたりしたんですけど、コロさんがもっとかっこよくインパクト残せるように星型で編み込んだりしたらっていう風にアドバイスしてくれて、それでやってみてめっちゃ良かったので、そこからずっと取り入れてます。
So I started this tradition since making my Ryzen debut, and I would usually step in the ring, with my normal hair without doing anything. But Coral, he suggested that I leave an impact star in some way, and I tried it out, and it worked out great. I loved it, and I've kept it.
Yeah, and it looks definitely very cool and helps you stand out as always. So it is definitely always cool to see the colors and designs that you do put in there. But as for the fight talk specifically, Seika, like another great run, another great year for you so far. I mean, the momentum keeps on keeping on. You look amazing with each fight. But I want to talk about the first one you had in the tournament specifically here real quick against Laura Fontoura when you submitted her. Battled through some adversity there. You were caught in kind of a triangle for pretty much most of that fight, but I was just so impressed how you handled that and stayed composed in that moment. I just kind of am curious, what was going on in your head during such a tight, intense moment for pretty much that whole fight until you escaped and then you choked her out? Was that a whirlwind of emotions for you? Walk me kind of through that first win you had in the tournament this year.
伊沢選手、今年も素晴らしい勢いで、勝ち続けているわけなんですが、今回のグランプリもあって、ちょっと今回のグランプリの1回戦についてちょっと質問させていただきたいんですが、対戦相手のローラ・フォントーラ選手、下からの攻め、 まあちょっときつめの、多分トライアングルみたいな感じで、抑え込まれていたと思うんですが、あれの時に伊沢選手、どのようにして、まあ非常に冷静だったと思うんですが、冷静に対処して、まあ逆に、最終的には一本で勝ったんですが、あれで自分が身動きできない時、どういう心境で、戦っていたのでしょうか？
そうですね。試合であんまり動きが取れなくなるっていうことがそんなになかったんですけど、初めての場面で少し自分の中では焦りがあったんですけど、その中でセコンドの指示がすごい的確に出てて、もう考えてもしょうがないから、そのセコンドの指示通りに動こうっていうような風に切り替えてやっていったら、しっかりと対処することができました。
Yeah, I have never been put in a situation in a fight where I could not move. I've lost my mobility like that. So at first I was in a slight panic. I didn't really know what to do. I was able to hear my cornerman very clearly. So at that point, I just kind of thought to myself, stop thinking and listen to what they have to say. And they navigated me throughout the process, and it worked out.
Yeah, it certainly did. It was very impressive how you handled the whole thing and then, latched on the guillotine right afterward. I mean, did you kind of surprise yourself a little bit with just that whole sequence and how you got right out and then you managed to finish her right when you got the opportunity?
まあ本当に実際、素晴らしい対処しているように見えましたし、非常に冷静に落ち着いてやっているようには見えました。で、その後すぐに抜けてから、自ら技を仕掛けたんですけれども、あの一連の流れってご自身でも、驚かれたりしましたか？要は耐えて、ポジション変えた瞬間に一本。
I think you cut out Shingo.
I did?
I think so,
I
yeah.
cut out?
Yeah.
伊沢さんすいません。一連の
はい。
流れ、耐えて、そのまま自分から次に出た瞬間に自分から、一本仕掛けに行ったと思うんですけれども、
はい。
あの一連の流れはご自
その耐えてるところはすごい、まあ、我慢の展開だったんですけど、超えた後の動きはもうずっと練習で、スパーリングの中で何回も決めているパターンだったので、もう抜けた後はもう冷静に自分の練習通りの動きができたっていうような感じですね。
So when I was in defensive mode, I just had to be in defense, right? Mode, I just had to take it. And it was a matter of time for me getting out. But that entire sequence after I got out and set everything up to the finish, that's something that I've been working on a lot and something that I practice a lot on. So after I got out, the whole sequence was definitely something that I've been working on, and that's something that is normal for me. So I think there was two separate parts. One separate part is being defensive, and once I got out, it was everything that I practiced. So I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, all right, very cool. Practice definitely making perfect in that case was a beautiful victory indeed. And, got us to where we are now, Seika. So very big fight, very big rematch here in the finals, against Siwoo Park, someone you're very familiar with. And, I just want to know, what have you made of her run in the tournament as well on the other side of the bracket here? I know that when we talked about just everybody in the tournament to start things off here, when it was starting off, obviously, you didn't think that maybe she would make it to the end, but here she is and has looked great doing it. So what have you thought of her wins since you guys last fought?
今回グランプリの決勝戦で、パク選手が、反対側を登ってきたんですが、これはまあ非常に、大きなリマッチに、なると思うんですが、一番最初にグランプリが発表されたとき、まあ、様々な、参戦選手がいる中で、彼女が決勝に来るとは思っていなかったと思うんですが、まあ実際彼女が決勝戦の相手として決まりました。パク選手のこのグランプリに思われますか？
もう一回最後の方だけ、パク選手が
パク選手のこのグランプリの活躍をどのように評価してますか？
はい、まあ、発表っていうか、公の会見とかでは言ったことなかったんですけど、自分正直、このトーナメントの中で決勝戦に上がってくるなら、パクシュー選手か浜崎選手、決勝に上がってくると思ってたので、自分の中では順当な勝ち上がりだなっていうふうに思ってます。
So when the members were first all announced, I've never said this publicly, but I've always thought that it was going to be either Park or Hamasaki who's going to be making it to the finals. So for me, I'm not surprised. I think it was meant to be that she's facing me in the finals.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be a very good matchup. And Seika, I remember asking you. I think it was after one of your Hamasaki fights, but I asked you if who was the toughest fight that you had in your career up until that point. And you said it was your Siwoo Park fight. So, without giving kind of things away, I'm just curious, like, how have you changed kind of preparation and whatnot for a rematch with somebody who you've kind of acknowledged and admit has like been your toughest opponent so far? Like, what has kind of this camp so far been like in the intensity, I guess?
前、浜崎さんとかと聞いたときに、伊沢選手はパク選手って答えたんですね。で、パク選手っていうふうに答えて、その上で、まあその戦略とかは言わないでいいんですが、今回リマッチをするにあたって、どのような練習で改善点をしてきたのか、話せる範囲でいいので教えていただけますか。
はい、そうですね。やっぱり、パクシュウ選手すごい立つ力が強いので、テイクダウンは取れると思うんですけど、テイクダウン取った後の動きに重点を置いて練習してますね。
So, Park is really good at getting back up to her feet. Like she's very good at it. She's really good at keeping the fight on the feet. So I think I'll be able to get the takedown, but I think my biggest challenge is how to keep her down.
Mm.
So that's what I've been working on the most for this fight.
Okay, and you guys' first fight was in the cage too, so you'll have the ring this time. Do you think that'll matter at all, or help you more, help her more? How do you kind of you think that, I guess, will play a factor at all?
パク選手との1回目の試合はケージの中で行われましたが、今回はリングになります。この事実は、伊沢選手にとって、有利に進むと思いますか？それとも不利というか、展開的にはどのように影響するでしょうか？
そうですね。自分はリングもケージもあんまり変わらないんじゃないかなって思います。
So, yeah, personally, I don't think there's too much of a difference between a ring and a cage. So I don't think there's going to be much of a difference.
All right. I hear you. Yeah, I mean, you've been able to win in both of them regardless, so definitely hasn't mattered for you specifically, Seika. But, you were supposed to fight Reina in your semifinals matchup, but she got, forced out and wasn't able to happen. So, I mean, are you kind of bummed about that at all? Or, I mean, is it just kind of one of those things where you think, it can happen after you're all done with the tournament? Just how did you kind of take that, opponent switch up for the last fight you had?
伊沢選手、準決勝、本当であればレナ選手って出られなくなってしまったということがあるんですが、これレナ選手との準決勝がなくなってしまったことについて何か、思われることはありますか？後でまたやるのか、それとももうグランプリを勝つことに集中しているのか。
そうですね。まあ、レナ選手は知名度があるんで、やれたら美味しいかなって思うんですけど、選手としてはそんなに魅力を感じてないので、どっちでもいいかなっていうような感じですね。
So, for me, Rena is a big name, so it would work as a benefit for me if I fight her. But as a fighter, she's not too appealing, so I don't really have to fight her as a fighter. But I thought it would be beneficial for me just because of the name. But it really doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah, certainly fair enough. And again, it's still possible. Just obviously we'll be in the tournament, so we'll see how things shake out there. But Seika, I mean, you've been just so incredibly active throughout your MMA career to this point, racking up all these wins in such a short amount of time and against, some great names. I'm curious, like, after you're done with this fights coming up here and, presumably getting the win, of course, are you going to want to take a little bit of a break at all? You've been so busy, or do you just want to keep going until you're like, can't anymore? Like, what are you kind of thinking in terms of your activity levels right now?
伊沢選手のこの総合格闘家としてのキャリアを見ていると、ものすごいアクティブで、すごい勢いで試合数を重ねていっていると思うんですが、今年、このグランプリの決勝戦の先からは、伊沢選手、ちょっと休みたいなとか、ちょっと時間を置きたいなとかっていう気持ちはあったりしますか？それとももうこのままの勢いで突っ走っていくのか、どういうふうにお考えでしょうか？
そうですね。自分自身、そこまで総合を長くやろうとは思ってないので、できるだけたくさん試合していった方が、モチベーションもコンディションも 高い状態でいられると思うので、怪我とかがなければコンスタントに試合していきたいなって思ってます。
In this for a long run. So I think I would want to fight as many times as I can while I can. So with that said, having a goal and having something set for the future helps maintain my condition and motivation. So as long as there's no injuries, I don't suffer a big injury. I want to stay as active as possible.
All right, very cool. Definitely love to hear that as people who like watching you fight. So that's some good news for sure. And I mean, as you continue to be successful though, and build this undefeated record, champ, like, does that add any new pressure? As you continue to look unbeatable, that zero everyone talks about. The longer you get, the farther away you get from it, can add some more pressure, and being the champion and all that. Is any of that kind of coming to mind at all? Or I know you're very good at kind of keeping the noise out, but do you feel any extra with each fight at this point in your career?
伊沢選手はこの、無敗ということもあり、連勝記録、そしてチャンピオンという肩書きをたくさん持って、どんどんこういうのが積み重なっていくわけなんですが、以前話した時に伊沢選手はこの外野の意見っていうのはあんまり聞かないようにしていると、そういうのを非常にちゃんとやれてると思うんですが、こう試合を重ねるにつれ、どんどんこう積み重なっていく責任だったり、プレッシャーだったりとか、そういうものって感じてきたりしていますか？
そんなに今のところまだないですね。
Yeah, I don't feel any of that too much as of now.
All right, well, that's definitely a good thing. So handling it all very well. But also, Seika, like, I'm curious, with the achievements you've already accomplished, just your IACA wins are so incredible, all things considered where you are at your career. Still, very young and early into it. I'm wondering from your perspective, though, like, how you will compare winning the tournament to, winning the title against Ayaka and just beating her twice. Like, will you value winning a tournament more than those wins over Hamasaki, or do you compare them at all? How do you look at that?
前にお話しした時も思うんですが、その浜崎選手に勝ってるってことは自分の中で本当にすごいことだと思っているんですが、今回このグランプリで決勝戦やります。で、それに勝ったら、アトム級のグランプリの優勝者でもあり、階級の、チャンピオンでもありっていう風な肩書きがつくと思うんですが、これを達成した時に伊沢選手の中でこのグランプリを優勝したということと、浜崎選手に勝ってタイトルを取った。そして浜崎選手2回も勝ったっていう、両方の達成したものがあるんですが、どちらの方に重きを置くと思いますか？それとも何も変わらないですか？
そうですね。あんまり変わらないかなって思いますね。そんなに自分の中で誰に勝つと価値が高いっていうような意識ではあんまりやってないので、ただ試合に勝つ負けるなので、一戦一戦全部重さは一緒かなって思ってます。
Yeah, I don't see any differences because I don't really put value in who I beat. A fight is a fight, and my job is to win those fights that are put in front of me. So I don't really value on who I beat to earn what. It's about winning the fight that's put in front of me. So for me, to answer your question, I don't think there's too much of a difference.
All right, definitely very interesting stuff there. And, it was one of your goals, I know, to have a tournament. You kind of called for it and made it happen in the first place here. And now, winning your way through it and on the cusp of finishing it off, cleanly. Do you have a next goal in mind, Seika? Like, I know you just want to beat every single person you possibly can. Is that just kind of what the mentality is going to be afterward, without thinking ahead too far, obviously? But, achieving this goal directly in front of you, is there one you have lined up next and ready to go?
選手は、前からこのグランプリを開催してほしいという感じで、発言してきて、で、それが現実になっているわけなんですが、それを制したとき、次のゴールっていうものはありますか？本当にベストな人たちとやっていきたいっていう気持ちは、以前聞いたことがあるんですが、このトーナメント、自分がやりたいと言ってやって、それを優勝した後のゴールっていうのはどういったものをお考えでしょうか？
そうですね。雷神でタイトル取ってから、タイトル取ったことの嬉しさが、そこまで自分がもともと想像してたよりもなくて、逆に今はもう試合で勝った時に、 なんか一番嬉しい瞬間がセコンドの人と一緒に抱き合って喜ぶところがすごい自分の中で一番嬉しいところなので、なんか遠くの目標を持つっていうよりも、一戦一戦しっかり勝って喜べるような体制をもう毎日の練習で作っていくっていうようなところが今の一番のモチベーションだなって思います。
So when I first got my Ryzen title championship, I wasn't as ecstatic as I anticipated, as I thought it would be. So when I accomplished the goal is becoming the Ryzen champion, it didn't really hit me as hard as I expected. And right now, the moment that gives me the most joy, the most enjoyable moment in this fight game is celebrating the win immediately after the fight in the ring with my corners. That's the most enjoyable part of this. So I don't really have a long goal or a goal in a bigger picture, but for me right now, my motivation is to enjoy that moment after a win with my corners, and that's what I look forward to, and that's what I condition. I prepare myself for that specific moment for any fight. So that's my motivation in this game for now.
All right, well, that's very cool. I mean, it's very obviously, present-minded of you, Seika, not looking too far ahead and anything, getting distracted a little bit. I mean, do you think it's kind of good that that's how you kind of just view things? I don't know if you would say that's something you kind of have trained yourself to do, or if that's just how you are, like you tell me. But you think it's a good way to kind of approach just fighting in general?
本当にこうさ、大きな、絵を見ずに直近の、部分を求めて練習しているっていう、伊沢選手にとって、やりやすい、こう、マインドセットなのかなと思うんですが、やっぱりこう、選手によっては大きなゴールを描いてとかあると思うんですが、本当にこの試合後の与えられた試合に勝つことっていう部分に集中するっていうのは、伊沢選手のこのスタイルに合っている考え方だと思いますか？
そうですね。やっぱり、そこまで海外の団体について知っているわけでもないので、高望みしても逆に目標が定まらないのかなって思って、逆に普通に日々練習していくのが好きなので、その中でできる最善を尽くせるのかなって思いますね、そっちの方が。
Yeah, so for me, I don't really have too much information about, international organizations. So I don't really know too much. I'm ignorant in a way. So, for me, setting a goal on something that I don't really know about, I don't think it's too realistic. And I do enjoy everyday training. That's just, I enjoy this lifestyle. I enjoy I think if I do my best, put in 100% of what I do every day, which I enjoy, I think it would lead to a greater result than hoping for something you really don't know about. So I think this mindset works with me, works for me.
So the ignorance is truly bliss, Sayaka. That's what you're saying.
では、伊沢選手の言うことは、知らないということが、一つの強みになるということでしょうか。
そうなんですかね。知ってた方がいいとは思うんですけど、そんなに目先のことを考えてもしょうがないかなっていうのが自分の中、遠くのことを考えてもしょうがないのかなって自分の中で、そういう考えもあるので、どっちがいいっていうのかわかんないですね。
So I'm not sure which is better, but I'm sure, knowing more knowledge definitely helps out for sure. I understand that. But, but it's also nice to just focus on what's put in front of you instead of thinking ahead. And, I can't really say which is better, but, I do understand the importance of knowing and information as well. But right now, it works for me.
Yes, exactly. You got to just stick with what's working and no need to change it if you don't have to. So definitely a good thing you got going. But all right, Seika. Well, I always very much enjoyed chatting with you. So before I let you go here, I want to leave you with kind of maybe a fun and a difficult question. It's always a fun thing to do. But in terms of, looking at kind of how you started and getting into MMA, it was a little bit of an accident, right? You didn't intend to. It was just kind of how things played out with the world at the time, right? I'm curious, though, for you, like, I don't know if you get approached by people maybe in similar positions, you know, coming from judo and your judo background and whatnot, but I want to know, like, what advice would you give to someone who's starting out in MMA, specifically coming from, you know, the type of sports that you did?
あの、伊沢選手がこう総合に転向するきっかけとなったのは、非常にこうユニークな、コロナっていう状況、世界状況の中でこう、転向したと思うんですが、伊沢選手がもっっていうその相談を受けてるかどうかはわからないんですが、こう柔道から総合格闘技に、転向した、伊沢選手。逆にこの他のアスリートたちに、MMA の転向を目指すアスリートたちに何かアドバイスをあげれるとしたらどのようなアドバイスにしますか？
そうですね。あんまりバックボーンにこだわらないことが一番の伸びる最善の手段かなって思います。
So the advice that I would give is that don't stick too hard with your backbone and keep an open mind. And I think that's what leads to a successful career.
Yeah, I think that's some pretty good advice. And again, you're the best evidence and example of this, Seika. So you know better than most. So I think that is some good advice for sure. But can't wait to see you continue to, you know, employ this wisdom and whatnot in the ring, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you so much, as always, you know, for taking the time. It's always great getting to catch up, Zach, and I just, you know, always a treat getting to watch you fight as well. So I wish you the best of luck. Hope training camp goes smoothly and that you have a happy end of the year, happy holidays, happy New Year, all that fun stuff, and you get to enjoy it with a potential victory and, you know, keep that undefeated record intact. So big arigato gozaimashita, as always, Zach, and we'll let you get on with the rest of your day, but appreciate you.
根澤選手、素敵なアドバイスありがとうございました。本当に、いつもお時間をいただいて貴重な話を聞けるのをすごく楽しみにしてますんで、大晦日、試合楽しみにしてますので、ぜひ頑張ってください。今日はありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。いつもありがとうございます。
Thank you as always, Drake. Appreciate your time.
And last but not least, the Rising Featherweight Champion himself, Kleber Koike. All right. Well, Kleber, man, what is up, champ? It is good to see you again, as always. Merry Christmas to you, sir. Just how are you doing as we're getting ready for the big fight here?
クレベ選手、今回またお時間いただいてありがとうございます。メリークリスマスということで、今の調子はいかがでしょうか？
Kleber, obrigado pelo tempo que você nos arrumou hoje. Feliz Natal. Como tá? Como você está se sentindo?
Primeiro de tudo aí, Feliz Natal, obrigado pela entrevista. Tô me sentindo bem.
メリークリスマスインタビューさせてくれてありがとうございました。調子はめちゃくちゃいいです。
Acho que agora começa a semana, né, que é só a perca de peso, mas tô me sentindo bem, tô bem tranquilo, fiz camp bom, tô bem treinado.
今週が始まるやっぱり減量、一番辛いところなんだけど、この練習、このキャンピング、この試合のためはよく素晴らしい練習することができて、調子はいいです。
Yeah, so Merry Christmas to you, Drake. And, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. To answer your question, I feel fantastic. I feel great right now. The exciting fight week, I have to work on cutting weight, which is the toughest part. But other than that, fight camp was fantastic, and I feel great today.
All right, awesome, man. I know this isn't your first time fighting on New Year's Eve or anything, but is it difficult at all fighting around this time with the holidays and everything? And like you said, the weight cut and maybe avoiding some, the good food that comes just with holidays in general.
クレベル選手、大晦日に戦うのは初めてじゃないと思うんですけれども、やっぱりこの時期に試合に準備するっていうものって、普段の時と比べて大変だったりしますか？当然その祝日だったり、いろんなホリデーだったり、それに伴ういろんな食事だったりっていうものを制限しなければいけないと思うので、この時期に試合するっていうのは、正直どうですか
？Kleber, a gente sabe, não é a primeira vez que você luta no Unisoca, né? Mas para você lutar no Unisoca é diferente das outras vezes que você já lutou, nos outros eventos que não são finais de anos, feriado para você. Eu acho que muda alguma coisa? Sente essa pressão, alguma coisa?
Muda um pouco em relação a que aqui no Japão a gente tem muitas poucas datas que a gente pode ser comemorativo, assim, que a gente comemora com a família, com os amigos. Isso é inclusive justo a data de Natal e Ano Novo, né? São datas assim que pra gente no Brasil é muito especial.
日本ではやっぱりこの過ごす時間はハッピーっていうのは僕、ブラジル人として、やっぱり、クリスマス、正月が一番、家族、友人と過ごす時間なんですが、pode falar.
Mas aqui, por outro lado, assim, é o maior evento do Japão. Então, por um lado é um sacrifício, mas por outro lado eu me sinto feliz e honrado, né? Porque é um evento diferente, né? É um evento onde o Japão inteiro para assistir, né? Apesar de hoje não aparecer mais na televisão, é um evento que tem muita força aqui, né? Na virada do ano.
あと、日本では一番でっかいイベントになりますので、出場することができて、プラス代表、日本として、僕が嬉しいなんですが、やっぱ辛いところがそこです。けど、日本の中とても、年末だけ、やっぱりこういうみんな、もう今テレビには出ないんだけど、やっぱりみんなこれを見るから、それいいところも、辛いところが、この二つですよねって。
So, now that I'm in Japan, it's I like to spend the time with the family and friends and whatnot during this time. But New Year's Day is the most important day that we spend time with family and friends. So that is that's a fact, and I might have to miss all that. But also on the other hand, this is the biggest day for Japanese combat sports. And as a fighter, being able to fight on this stage, it's nothing but an honor, and I'm grateful. And especially for this one, I've been selected to represent Ryzen in Japan, so it's just nothing but an honor. So, that is also something that's really motivating. So it's more like a double-edged sword, and now we don't have terrestrial television, but at the end of the year, everybody, sits down and watches television. And that's also a good thing for me because I have a lot of families who are distant I can't meet. And, that also used to be really good. So, there are good things and bad things about fighting at the end of the year. So it's more like a double-edged sword, but, I'm a fighter and it is what it is.
Yeah, perfectly put, man. It's going to be a very exciting show, as it always is, but this one's obviously a little bit more special. But, Kleber, I saw what the other day, man, I was watching on your Instagram, you went and did some bowling. I just got to ask, how'd you do with that, man? Looked like a very cool bowling alley that you were at.
先日クレブル選手のインスタグラムで拝見したんですが、ボーリング行ってたらしいんですけども、その素晴らしい施設に行ってたようで、そのボーリングの結果はいかがでしたか？
Olhando seu Instagram, eu vi que você foi jogar boliche. Como é que foi o resultado do boliche ontem?
Fala que eu perdi quase todas, mas na hora que tinha que ser decisivo eu fui.
ちょっとごめんなさい、笑っちゃってしまった。昨日の結果は、僕全部負けてしまいましたけど、一回アナウンスで、勝負っていうのは出るんですよ、向こうで。で、クレブルが全部負けていたのに、勝負の時になったら、自分が動画に、絶対負けるだろうって言ったら、いや、その時は彼もストライクスローできて、やっぱりやらなきゃいけない時は、僕きちんとやりますよって、冗談、笑いながら。
So, as a result of my bowling from yesterday, the result is I lost every single game. But there's some specific moments in that bowling alley where they force you to like duel or like a battle, and you're forced to so you're supposed to bowl good. And as a result, I lost all my games. But during those specific times when I had to perform well, I was able to bowl some strikes, and I can do what I do when it's time. But overall, I lost everyone. It's kind of a little joke. But I can perform well when the spotlight is on.
Right, under the pressure, you can kick into high gear, but won't be going professional as a bowler anytime soon, is what you're saying.
ではあれですね、プロのボーリングの選手にはまだ向いてないということでよろしかったでしょうか。
Uhum. Então você tá longe de ser um jogador profissional de boliche?
Jamais.
無理で、僕には無理ですよねって。
Yeah, that's safe to say. Yeah, I'm not a good bowler.
Well, that's all right, man. You're a pretty darn good mixed martial artist, so that's what matters most. And this is the first time that we've caught up since you're the champ now, Kleber. So, man, I know I'm late, obviously, but congratulations on finally capturing that title. We all felt like it was a matter of time, man. So it was very cool to see you get that done. And so I just got to ask, looking back on it now, having had plenty of time, like, what was that feeling of finally winning the title like? Did it live up to everything you kind of imagined it would be?
クレベル選手とはこれチャンピオンになって、初めてのまたインタビューになるんですけれども、まずはちょっと遅れましたがおめでとうございます。そしてライジンのチャンピオンになって、どういう気持ちでしたか？今まで散々チャンピオンになりたい追いかけてきたものが手に入った時の気持ちって想像していたものと同じでしたか？違いましたか？
Kleber, é a primeira entrevista após você ser campeão do Rising e hoje você é campeão. E qual a sua sensação de hoje? Você sempre falava, eu vou me tornar campeão, eu vou buscar, eu quero ser campeão. E agora você é campeão. Fala pra gente a sensação disso hoje.
A sensação, primeiro, é de dever cumprido, de saber que eu consegui chegar onde eu queria, um dos objetivos onde eu queria, né? Que era me tornar campeão.
今回は、目標に、僕がずっと言ったことを守ることができて、そこが一番良いところです。
Mas eu sei que agora se torna o game mais difícil, né? Agora fica tudo mais difícil. Então agora eu já não quero mais só ser o campeão, porque eu já cheguei, mas eu quero me manter campeão o máximo de tempo que eu conseguir, né?
けど、今、すべてゲームが変わります。やっぱりこれからハードになりますので、前まではチャンピオンになるっていう夢だけであった、その夢叶うことができたから、もう今回はもうレベルがアップ、もうハード試合にだけなると思うから、もう今度はチャンピオンになり続く、みんなよりずっとベルトを守っていきたいから、今度は夢はそれです。
So, leading up to getting my championship title, I was very relieved, and I was able to honor my promise because I've been continuing to say that I'm going to be champion of Horizon. I want to be champion, and I'm relieved that I was able to, I was to keep my promise. But now that I'm the champion, I believe that the game has changed. It's only going to get tougher from here. I was able to. Fulfill one of my dreams, one of my goals. And now that it's set, it's going to get harder and harder because my next goal is to continue to be the champion. And I want to be the one who defends the belt the most. I'm going to maintain myself to continue to be the champion. So that's going to be my next goal.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Definitely a good goal to have, rack up the title defenses, really establish yourself as a legendary champion, which you can definitely do. But, as for the win itself and like the fight and the performance against Ushiku, like I got to wonder, like, did anything he do surprise you? Because like as watching the fight play out and everything, it was kind of interesting to see him be maybe a little bit more willing to hang out on the ground with you in the first round. Maybe whether or not that was by choice on his part or you just keeping him there, but unable to finish him till the second round. I'm just curious, like, did anything he do kind of, surprise you in there, or did it go pretty much as planned?
牛久選手の、との試合ちょっと振り返りたいんですけれども、牛久選手と戦ってみて何か彼が驚くようなことをしてきました。みんなが思うよりかは牛久選手寝技に1ラウンドクレベル選手の寝技に付き合ったと思うんですが、牛久選手彼がやってきたことで何か驚いたことありましたか？
Vou voltar um pouquinho atrás, você falar sobre o Chico, alguma coisa que você assustou com ele? Parece que no primeiro round ele entrou numa tentativa de finalização em você. Teve algo que você se assustou com ele?
Não, eu não me assustei com nada, eu tava esperando, não digo esperando tudo, porque a luta a gente nunca prevê tudo, mas eu tava bem confiante na vitória, tava bem tranquilo, sabia que eu tinha feito tudo teria que ser feito e que eu ia me tornar campeão.
いや、何もどれたことはまずないです。で、試合はやっぱり何でも来る何でもありっていうふうに思うから、やっぱりやっぱりそれより、私の練習、キャンピングを、きちんとすることはできたら、もう何でもやっても、私はもう優勝、チャンピオンしか見えてnaかったから、僕から驚いたことは、特に何もないです。
Sabia que ele era um cara duro, assim, que não podia menosprezar ele.
相手はやっぱり強いところもあるの僕はしていましたけど、
Tinha perigo, mas eu estava muito bem treinado. Eu treinei muito para essa luta.
もう私はもうとてもハードトレーニングしていましたから、目的はチャンピオンだけです。
Yeah, so nothing that he did really surprised me. Because in a fight, anything can happen, and you have to be prepared for anything that happens in a fight. So, in order to be ready for that, I trained very hard leading up to this fight, and my goal, I could only see myself becoming the champion, and I trained hard for every single aspect that he would possibly bring. So, in that sense, nothing that he did surprised me. I mean, obviously, he was a very tough fighter. He was a champion for a reason. And I had to be better than him. I had to train harder, and I had to be ready for everything that he gave. So that's what I did, and the results followed.
They absolutely did, man. It was a great performance, another good one for you, and a great 2022 calendar year, and looking to cap it off in a huge way with now this Pitbull fight, man. So, that was announced very quickly after you became the champion, Kleber. So, before talking about Pitbull specifically, I'm curious, how quickly did the idea of you turning around to be a part of, Rizin 40 and, representing Rizin, like you said, against one of the best fighters in Bellator history, one of the best fighters ever, really, in Pitbull. How quickly did that come to you, after winning the title?
今回そして次の試合が、ピットブル戦になったんですけれども、ピットブル選手との発表って、クレベル選手がチャンピオンになってから、すごく早かったと思うんですが、この試合のオファーってどういった感覚、時系列でオファーを受けたんでしょうか？
Só para volta competitivo, parece que a gente foi muito rápido. Quando surgiu essa conversa de você lutar competitivo, foi após você ser campeão mesmo?
Como eu falei, já havia a conversa de o desafio do Bellator contra o UFC, isso eu já sabia por causa do Satoshi, mas eu já tinha falado que eu ia fazer só essa luta, porque eu não queria fazer uma luta seguida da outra. Eu ia fazer só a luta do cinturão e depois eu queria descansar, ficar um tempo com a minha família. Mas logo depois da luta, no dia seguinte, na terça, né? A gente voltou na segunda. Só que a Kibara-san entrou em contato com a gente aí, pediu pra gente fazer essa luta. E eu, como campeão, não poderia ficar de fora, né? E não poderia deixar o evento na mão.
本当は僕、タイトルマッチだけ、集中して考えたんだけど、話はいつでもベラトル対ライジン、何回もそれ聞いてあったから、いつか来るだろうって僕思ったんですよ。けど、今回やっぱりタイトルマッチだけに集中しても、それ終わったら、もう休みます。家族、友達、ちょっと、しばらく休みますっていう、考えがしていました。けど、勝って後に、月曜日、火曜日から、榊原さんから電話があって、やりますか？やっぱりもうその時が僕はやっぱりチャンピオンになったから、チャンピオンとしてもう絶対受けなきゃいけないと思って、もう一回、この試合に向けて、受けました。
So heading into the title fight against Ushiko, I was just solely focused on that fight. Obviously, I've heard about the idea of Rizin versus Bellator, and I had a hunch that someday I might get the call. But for this heading into this fight, the championship, I was just solely focused on the championship. I wanted to rest. I want to spend time with my families and friends, my children. after I win the championship. So that was my mindset heading into the fight. But about 2 days after the fight, I got a phone call from Sakakibara, and he asked me if I wanted, if I could fight Pitbull to represent Rise in Bellator, and I felt obligated as the active current champion. I felt obligated to take the fight, so I had to put my my vacation aside. I had to get my mentality straight, getting into this fight mode. So I took this fight because I felt obligated to as a champion.
There you go, man. A vacation will be all that much more warranted, and feel that much better after a win over somebody like him at the end of the year here. But it's interesting, Kleber. Like, you look at all the guys you fought in your career, plenty of great names, and maybe ones that stand out would obviously be Ushiku, who you just beat. Mikaru comes to mind. You fought Mateusz Gamrot, who's doing pretty good in the UFC now, back in KSW and everything. Is it safe to say that Patricio is your biggest challenge that you fought in your career thus far? Or like, kind of, how do you weigh him as an opponent against, some of the other great guys that you've fought in your career?
クレベル選手はキャリアを通して様々なトップ選手と戦ってきたと思うんですが、それこそ牛久選手だったり朝倉選手だったりと、それこそ KSW でガムロット選手、今 UFC で、そこそこの成績残してますが、そんな強豪とやってきてますが、今回のパトリシオ・ピットブルは、キャリアの中で一番の強敵になりますでしょうか？
Você é um cara que tem muitas bagagens já de luta com vários atletas, o Mikuro, o Chico, o Gamarote, que agora tá no UFC, e você vai agora lutar com o Patricio Pitbull. Ele agora seria seu maior desafio nessa bagagem que você tem?
Eu considero que toda luta para mim é importante. Sempre a próxima luta é importante, né? Mas com certeza acho que essa próxima luta com o Pitbull é uma das lutas mais difíceis e mais especiais da minha vida, né? Com certeza, pelo nome que ele tem, pela pessoa que ele é, né?
僕がやっぱり過去試合、一人一人必ずは僕それを深く考えて集中思いがあるんだけど今回の試合パトリシオ・ピチボーやっぱり選手レベルとしてあと世界のはみんなしてるから今回の試合やっぱり僕みんなよりちょっと特別で私の今までのキャリアの中で一番スペシャルになると思います。
So for every opponent I face, I take it serious, and I think every opponent for me that I fought is a worthy opponent. So everybody who I've fought, they were worth fighting for, and they're very high caliber. But I think Pitbull as a fighter, he's very special, and as far as his abilities as a fighter and his name value, he's globally known. He has a name. So yes, I think he's definitely going to be a special opponent for me compared to anybody that I fought in my career.
Yeah, undeniable. He's one of the greats, like I was saying. And it's kind of cool, Kleber. I spoke to him, about a week or so ago ahead of the fight and everything. And he kind of acknowledged you as, one of his most challenging opponents, said he's never fought somebody with, such great submission abilities and grappling like yourself. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what does it mean for you to be recognized by somebody like him as, maybe his toughest opponent he's ever fought, because he spoke very highly of you?
先週、私、ピットボール選手にもインタビューしたんですが、その時クレベル選手について、印象を聞いた時に、ピットボール選手は、本当にクレベル選手のことを、評価が高くて、本当にクレベル選手ほどこのサブミッションの技術だったり、決定力が高い相手とは自分もやったことがないので、非常に警戒しているように、感じました。逆にそのピットボール選手からクレベル選手がそのように高い評価を得ていることに対してどう
Kleber, eu também fiz uma entrevista com o Pitbull semana passada aqui e o Pitbull também ressaltou muito que você é um atleta assim que ele vai enfrentar, que você é um atleta que ele vai enfrentar que tem muito poder de submission de chão, né? E falou muito, te falou bem de você e você hoje escutando isso que o nível dele, ele ressaltando essa parte de você, como você se sente com isso?
Eu me sinto
Ele falou,
privilegiado.
ele falou que também talvez seria um atleta de nível de submission também que ele não enfrentou também, tá? Até hoje.
Eu me sinto muito honrado, né? Ainda mais vindo dele, como eu sempre falo. Ele é um cara que eu sempre admirei, né? Eu sempre acompanhei muito ele, a história dele, a forma dele lutar. E quando ele fala isso de mim assim, eu me sinto hoje privilegiado, né? Eu me sinto honrado, né? E eu me sinto feliz de saber que meu trabalho tem sido bem feito, né?
まあ、私はやっぱりもうすごい嬉しいです。前からもうピットブル、結構ファンとして、彼がやってることを全部、今までそばで見てきました。で、彼から、この言葉を聞くのは、私はとても、嬉しいです。De, que mais você falou, Kleber? Muito honrado? Chegou
Eu me sinto muito honrado, né, de ouvir isso dele, né, que é um cara que eu respeito muito, né, que eu admiro e respeito muito, né.
で、ピットボール選手、まず私、相手からこういう声が出ると、やっぱり私が今までやった仕事、私今までやった練習が、意味があるっていうことが思ってるから、もうとても嬉しいです。
Nem eu sempre falo, ele pra mim, fora do UFC, é o melhor atleta peso por peso do mundo, né? Eu considero ele o melhor atleta peso por peso do mundo, né? Pela história dele, por tudo que ele tem feito.
私いつも私の周りに言うんだけど、もう彼がやっぱり、世界、UFC に入ってないもんで、僕としては、階級、やっぱり彼が、やっぱナンバーワン、トップ1っていうふうに僕は思ってます。
So I'm actually hearing that from you, Drake. I'm actually very honored and flattered hearing that from Pitbull. As a fan, I've been following his career. I've been watching his fights, and I respect his abilities as a fighter, and I respect what he's done. And I'm very happy to hear that that he's mentioning me and giving credit for what I do. So Pitbull giving me compliments. It kind of makes it worthwhile for what I've done in the past. Like it kind of justifies what I have been doing. All the time and effort I spent in my life in this industry, it just kind of confirms that it was right. And I've been always telling everybody around me this, but I think that Pitbull is by far the number one fighter outside of the UFC. And by far, he's the best featherweight in the world. So, getting that from a compliment from somebody who I think is the best it's nothing but I'm honored, grateful.
Yeah, all very well said, man, and it's deserved praise on you because it has been a great career that you've had, and it only continues to get better and better. And I want you to brag a little bit here, Kleber, because again, this year specifically, 2022 has been a huge one for you. Submitting everybody, winning the title, and if you go out there and beat Patricio, you have about as good of a claim as any fighter as the fighter of 2022, the best fighter of the year. And I just want to ask you, do you think that would be something that you should be considered for? Do you think you deserve the fighter of the year 2022 with a win over Pitbull at the end of the year here?
本当にクレベル選手自身も今年2022年って素晴らしい年だというふうに、私は思っていてですね、様々な選手に勝ちました。そしてライジンの、タイトルも取りました。そしてこの大晦日、この時に、ピットブルにも勝ってしまったら、その2022年最も活躍した選手がクレベル選手になるんじゃないかと私は思ってるんですが、そのピットブル選手に勝った時に自分もそういうふうに思われるべきだというふうに思いますか？
Eu acho que o ano 2022 você vem fazendo um excelente ano, ganhando de grandes atletas, tá? Agora você vai enfrentar o Pitbull e eu acho, ao meu ver, tá? Se você ganha dele, eu acho que você vai dar um passo muito grande. E o que você acha disso? De caso você consiga ganhar dele, esse é o momento mesmo? Você já espera por isso? Como que você vê isso?
Eu espero isso com certeza, eu venho trabalhando para isso. Como eu falei, né? Eu tenho a oportunidade hoje de me testar com um dos melhores caras do mundo. Então, quando teve a oportunidade, muitos eu sei que iriam correr, mas eu abracei a oportunidade porque eu vejo como uma grande oportunidade de estar lutando com alguém como ele, primeiro de tudo, que para mim é um dos maiores nomes hoje que a gente tem no Brasil, e segundo é saber que hoje eu posso levar o meu nome para o mundo, né? Para o mundo inteiro conhecer, né? Então,
で、やっぱりこれが、僕が、ビッグチャンスだと思って、もう本当に僕以外、多分他の選手がいれば、逃げれるだろうっていう僕思ってるから、僕は逆っていうことで、試合が受けて、本当にチャンス、私の名前を、世界に出すチャンスがある。その世界が、もう、さっき言った通り、彼も、世界の、トップ選手として、やっぱりこういう選手と戦うことができるのは、僕はとてもいいチャンス、いいことだ思ってます。
eu acredito sim que tudo acontece no tempo certo, né? E é no tempo de Deus, né? Não é no meu tempo, né? É no tempo de Deus.
けど、全部は私の時、私がタイミングを決めるんじゃなくて、神様が、やっぱり神様の時間、神様が許可っていうのはあるから、僕それを信用して、pode falar.
Então, eu aprendi isso com o tempo, né? Às vezes a gente perde, como eu perdi a oportunidade no passado de disputar o cinturão no Rise, eu fiquei meio triste, fiquei frustrado. Quando eu não lutei no Missoka do ano passado, eu fiquei muito mal, que era para ter feito uma grande luta, eu acho que todo mundo esquece isso. Com a Sakurai eu não fiz, mas Deus escreve tudo certo, né? Porque esse ano eu ganhei meu cinturão que eu sempre sonhei, e agora eu vou fazer uma grande luta na virada do ano com um grande atleta. Então acho que tudo acontece no tempo de Deus, né? Então se perguntar se eu me sinto preparado, eu me sinto mais que preparado, porque não é eu, é Deus que tá pondo as coisas no tempo certo.
で、やっぱり多分みんな忘れてるかもしれないんだけど、去年のミソワカ本当多分朝倉選手と戦う予定もあったんだけど、それもなくなってしまって、以前にもタイトルマッチ、1年3ヶ月前ぐらい、今回じゃなくそれより、タイトルマッチやりますよということあった時僕怪我してしまって、で、その時もタイトルマッチができなくて、で、今回が、今年がタイトルもベルトも取ることができて、で、もう一回おみそかチャンス。で、相手ピットブル選手とすること、やることになったから、もう、これを僕も期待していまして、やっぱり全部は私が決めるんじゃねえ、もう神様がやっぱり、チャンス、時間が決まるから、もう今回の試合も、もうとても、自信、信用してますので。
はい、見ました。So Drake, I think this is a huge chance for me. I'm pretty sure that, some fighters turn down the Pitbull fight, and but for me, I look at this as an opportunity to sell my name at a global stage. It's an opportunity for me to shine at an international level. And, fighting such high caliber fighter at this level on the biggest day of Japanese combat sports it's a huge opportunity. And I think that I don't make the calls for these things. A lot of the matchmaking, it's all about timing. When you fight, it's all about timing. And I think, God provided me with this timing and this opportunity at this timing. Because last New Year's Eve, I was supposed to fight Mikuru Asakura, which didn't happen. And then I was supposed to fight for the title, but I got injured. I had to back out of the fight. And, I was kept away from the title for a long time. But now, at this timing, at this year, I finally get the opportunity for a title shot. I get my championship title. And then I get Pitbull on New Year's Eve. This is something that I've dreamed of, and this is something that I've been wanting for the longest time, but didn't happen because of timing. But now, all of a sudden, all this is coming together and getting all these fights lined up, all these calls. I'm sure there's a reason for this. So I'm going in there with confidence. God gave me all these opportunities at this timing for a reason. So I do believe that I'm confident and I'm ready for this fight, and I'm going in there to win this fight.
Yeah, everything lining up quite nicely for you, man. It's been a great year, no matter what happens. But looking to get the win, of course, and another great submission. And with all that in mind, though, Kleber, like I know obviously you said that your goals are to be a great defending champion. You know, get all these title defenses, really establish yourself, cement it as you being the best featherweight champ that you can be, and all. But this fight specifically will not be, technically a title defense, of course, whenever there's champions involved. And winning and losing, people will count it as such, and but I'm curious, like beating Pitbull and him being a champion as well, like after doing that, would you want to go over maybe and rematch him for the Bellator title so that you can actually take his title officially, if that opportunity was something that could happen after a win here?
今回の試合はお互い現役のチャンピオンですけれど、ベルトはかかっていません。もしここで、大晦日にピットブルに勝ったら、次にベラトールに行って、実際ピットブルのベルトをかけて、ベラトールのチャンピオンシップを、の試合をやってみたいと思いますか？
Dessa vez, Kleber, não tá valendo, não tem cinturão em jogo, tá? Caso se você vença o Pitbull, você tem intenção de ir lá pro Bellator fazer uma luta com ele valendo o cinturão de lá?
Com certeza, né? Como eu acredito que se ele ganhar de mim, ele vai vir atrás do meu cinturão, e eu também, se eu ganhar dele, eu vou atrás do cinturão dele. Eu com certeza tenho essa vontade.
これは間違いないですよね。もう彼もしに今回チャンピオンになれば間違いなくベラトルタイトルマッチ僕やりたいですけど、それやりたいです。彼も同じ。やっぱり僕に勝っていけば、彼も絶対次はベルト、ライジンの、狙うから、僕も同じ。やっぱお互いやっぱその考えがあると思います。
Yeah, of course. I would like, if I beat Pitbull on New Year's Eve, I would definitely like to, a next shot. I would definitely like to face Pitbull for the Bellator Featherweight Championship. Vice versa. I think he's thinking the same way. If he beats me here, technically he would think that he would have the rights to get the first bid for the Rising title fight. So I think, we both have that same mentality heading into this fight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. A lot of fun directions that can be gone afterward and whatnot. But all right, Kleber, I will leave you with one last thing here, man. Always great getting to chat with you. And, this is another one of those times where you're getting to fight alongside your very good pal and the fellow champ now, Roberto Satoshi. And I know that, remember speaking to him and, both you guys about the idea of fighting together. And I know Satoshi, maybe not as much of a fan as fighting on the same card as you are. But for this one, it's even a bigger deal. Obviously, you guys both have the biggest fights at the top of the card and everything. So, like, how has it kind of been dealing with these fights in particular together and fighting alongside each other when maybe it's not what you guys prefer? Were there any reservations at all about, doing that again, especially for something as important as this one?
今回クレベル選手と、サトシソウザ選手が同じ試合、大会でやると思うんですが、以前、ソウザ選手にインタビューしたときに、できれば同じ大会で試合したくないと。そのセコンドしたりとか自分のチームメイトのあれが結果が心配になってしまったりという理由で、できれば、違う大会の方がいいというふうに言ってたんですが、今回は同じ大会でやります。そして同じ対抗戦のチームとしてやるんですが、このことが、今回のファイトキャンプ準備にあたって何か特別なモチベーションだったり、特別な何か弊害になったりとかしてますか？クレベル選手自身は同じイベントで戦うことは問題ないですか？
Kleber, parece que o Toshi deu uma entrevista para ele falando que não queria lutar o mesmo evento que você, por causa de corner, essas coisas, tá? E mais uma vez vocês vão lutar junto, no mesmo dia, o mesmo evento, né? E hoje vocês vão estar representando o Japão, representando o mesmo time. O que você acha de lutar ao mesmo dia do Satoshi? Para você muda alguma coisa?
Acho que para mim não. Para mim é o contrário. Eu fico feliz em poder lutar no mesmo dia que ele, de poder estar ali junto com ele. Como eu falo, um dos motivos que eu aceitei essa luta aí do Bellator para estar com ele, né? Eu sabia que ele tinha um grande desafio aí com o AJ e eu não queria deixar ele na mão, né? Eu queria estar junto com ele aí num dia especial.
Depois eles perguntaram o que vocês fizeram de diferente para isso. Eu vou responder primeiro, tá? で、いや、僕が多分逆だと思います。やっぱりサトシ・ソウザ、同じ日に出るのはとても嬉しい。結局僕がロベルト・サトシも決定してあったから、僕もそのエイジマキ選手と戦うことがもう決定してあったから、いや、先生も出るんであれば僕も受けますっていうことで、受けたのはもうプラス、責任感がサトシ先生が出るから僕も出naきゃいけないっていうのを思ったから出ました。Que mais, Kleber? E falou o que vocês fizeram de diferente para isso agora, se mudaram alguma coisa?
Eu acho que diferente nada, a gente não fez nada diferente, a gente veio fazendo os nossos mesmos campos, porque eu acredito que um time que tá ganhando não deve se mexer. A gente adicionou algumas coisas, né? Como trouxe o Johnny Case, como eu agora trouxe um treinador para me ajudar, o meu treinador da Tailândia. Então, acho que mudar a gente não mudou, a gente só acrescentou coisas. Um pouquinho, a gente pôs um temperinho a mais, mas acho que mudar mesmo o nosso estilo, mudar o que a gente sempre fez, a gente não mudou.
いや、で、今回に対しては、計画、いつもの計画通り、僕はやっぱり今まで、クリアしてる、今まで買ってきてるから、あまり予定変更はせずに、けど、プラス、ジョニー・ケース、連れてくることはできて、プラス私の個人、プケットで、タイの先生をまた日本に連れてくることができたから、やっぱり特別なことはなくて、その味付けをプラス、今回にやりました。
So, Drake, I think when it comes to like that thought process, I'm totally different with Roberto Souza, because I want to fight on the same event with Souza. I want to fight aside with Souza. When I got the offer to fight Pitbull, Souza versus AJ Wakil was already confirmed. And, that's actually one of the reasons why I took this fight, because I felt obligated to fight aside with my sensei. Because he's fighting, he's representing Ryzen, and there was no reason for me to turn the offer down because he's already confirmed. So, that was one of the things, one of the major reasons why I actually took this fight, and because I wanted to fight in the same event with him. But as far as fight camp goes, like I've been doing well under the Ryzen rules and the Ryzen rating side. I haven't really made too many adjustments. I haven't really changed my plan, but I've been adding a little more weapons to my arsenal. Like we have Johnny Case training now, and I was able to bring over one of my Thai trainers, my trainers from Thailand, over to Japan. So as for fight camp, I'm doing the exact same thing with spicing it up a little bit.
All right. Very cool, man. Yeah, it's going to be a great time. Always great getting to see both of you guys fight, and just the New Year's Eve show in general and these big ones specifically here. So, all right, Kleber. Well, I won't take up any more of your time, man. It's always great getting to chat with you. I appreciate it so much, and especially ahead of one like this during the holiday season and whatnot. So I wish you a continued great, week ahead of the fight and everything. A happy holidays, a happy New Year, sir. Congrats on all your success in 2022, and I wish you the best continuing onward with that. So I'm sure that we will catch up again in the future, Kleber. But until then, best of luck with everything, man. And thank you so much again. A big obrigado to you, and a big arigato gozaimashita as well. We'll give you both.
今日お忙しい中お時間いただいて本当にありがとうございます。クレベル選手のこの挑戦と試合非常に楽しみにしてますので、体調に気をつけてこれからも頑張ってください。今日はお時間ありがとうございました。
Kleber, muito obrigado pelo horário que você disponibilizou pra gente hoje. Estou muito feliz, torcendo muito por você agora no final do ano. Cuide do seu corpo agora nessa reta final e desejo tudo de bom para você.
Obrigado pela entrevista, obrigado pela oportunidade.
インタビュー本当にありがとうございました。こういうインタビューチャンス与えてくれて本当にありがとうございました。
Espero a gente fazer uma nova entrevista depois que eu me tornar campeão de novo.
で、絶対次のインタビューチャンピオンになってからまた次のインタビューを楽しみにしてます。
Quando eu chocar o mundo, eu espero que ele me chame pra gente fazer uma entrevista.
いや、世界を、ショック行ったら、もう一回インタビュー読んでください。
So Drake, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much for speaking to me and listening to what I have to say. The next time we speak, I will become champion. So after I shock the world, Drake, please book me another interview and we can speak then.
All right, you got it, man. Always welcome here on my show, and can't wait for the double champ. I'll be waiting for you.
もうダブルチャンピオンになったらいつでももう時間作りますので、ぜひまたお話聞かせてください。今日はありがとうございました。
Quando você for campeão duplo, eu sempre vou ter qualquer hora para você.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
See you, bro. Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you, Kleber. Good luck.
すいません。
すいません。ファイトウィークありがとうございました。
All right, Shingo. Well, how perfect is this? Broaden Horizon episode 22 closes out 2022. Hey, just what a happy coincidence that is. Numbers, good fun there. And a great timing for a very big, exciting event. So you guys know what that means. Community questions time, which these questions in particular are carryovers from the last episode, since we were not able to get around to them because time constraints can get the better of us all sometimes, but they still apply and are relevant here to this timing. So we'll still get to them. But before we do, Shingo, I mean, this is a question that was asked by one of the people we'll get to here in a moment. But just to clarify it, because I know this is always a thing that's kind of talked about for certain events, especially these more special ones. But this one in particular, Horizon 40, with the Bellator aspect of it and everything, people are still confused, about how they can watch. Kind of, it seems specifically the Bellator part, the main card, if you will, because obviously they are going to show that on Showtime. After, I'm still a little confused myself, but I guess let's just clear that up first about how everybody can watch and live, or will it be tape delayed? That's kind of the first question we're going to hear from at King CO24.
Yes. Okay. So the Horizon 40 event will be divided into 2 sessions, and the Horizon versus Bellator portion, those 5 fights will be session 2. Pretty much the main card. Mm-hmm. Main card will be treated as session 2. The remaining 10 bouts will be treated as the undercard, and we'll be looking at as session 1. Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk with session 2 first. So the main card, session 2, will be available wherever Bellator is distributed. So wherever Bellator is showing, session 2, the main card of Horizon 40, mm-hmm. will be showing on the same networks that aired Bellator.
Live.
And I think delayed.
Okay.
Delayed or depending on the area, the region.
Okay. So for example, real quick, Showtime in the States, and then YouTube in Canada is where all the main cards, play for Bellator. I don't know about the rest of the places, but those 2 anyway.
Wherever, yeah, any Bellator fans who tune in wherever the world where they can access Bellator, they will be able to access the Horizon 40 main card.
Okay.
And
fight for the first section. Fight
correct.
TV.
Fight TV, the first session, the Horizon 40 undercard, will be available globally on Fight TV.
Okay. And then
yes. And wherever Bellator is not shown across the world, which limits, it's a limited territory, mm-hmm. We will show session 2, the main card, on Fight TV in areas that Bellator.
Okay. I see. And then for Japan, what is it? Just for those,
for Japan, it will be Abema TV.
Okay.
Unext, Horizon Stream Pass, and Sky TV. These will be the 4 platforms that will take Horizon 40, the entire card.
Okay. Man, kind of a lot of spread out there, Shingo. Was that... Is it hard to kind of put that kind of thing together? In terms of, obviously, the entire idea here, I mean, where does that fall in line for distribution, in terms of difficulties mapping that out?
Well, I mean, it's part of the co-promotion thing, We, like Scott Coker always says, Bellator has the business to run, Ryzen has a Bellator. Ryzen has a business to run. So it's all about trying to fit the pieces together. It's all about compromising, but at the very end of the day, it's got to make business sense for both parties.
Right.
So obviously, these territories and licensings, and that's that's one of the challenging things when two promotions work together. So, it's co-promoting is a great thing, but those are one of the hurdles that makes it so hard, and that's what makes this event so special, because we're able to go over all these obstacles to create this co-promoted event.
Yeah, absolutely. And we love to see it as fans. Going to be a great night of action, as New Year's Eve always is, but this one always feels a little more special when we get the other guys involved, if you will. So that will be exciting. But all right, so King CO has 3 more questions for us here, and moves on to the kickboxing side of things, as he's asking or saying Takeru has left K1. He seems to be the biggest Japanese combat free agent since Sakuraba bounced from Pride FC to Heroes. How would Ryzen book him compared to fighters like Tenshin and Nadaka, which had their opponents signed off on by their home promotions?
Well, I'm not quite sure how to answer this question, but let's look at it this way. Takeru has been a superstar of K1 for a long time, and he's been a company man, for majority of his career, and now he's finally free and he's exploring. He's wanting to explore his ideas. He's wanting to make the decisions that he wasn't able to make while he was under contract. So Takeru is a free agent, and he's definitely wanting to fulfill his desires. I don't know if that's a proper answer, but you can just imagine, what kind of things that as such a superstar, such an influential talented fighter has after he's completely free and he can do whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. So just kind of imagine what kind of things that he would be wanting to do. And I don't know. It's not a good question, but
well, to follow up on that then, can you share if there has been any discussions whatsoever?
Oh yeah, I mean, there has been some discussions, of course.
Okay.
But it's I think, he's in the process of exploring
all the options and everything.
Yeah. Because he's made it clear of what he wants to do, what he wants to do, who he wants to fight. He's been clear on it. So, it's just all about when, where, how.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, somebody with that kind of, star power, they, can kind of pick and choose a little bit better, a hot commodity. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out for sure. But either way, people will be watching. So we look forward to seeing what happens there with Takeru. But all right, then King CO moves on to the flyweight division, as he's saying Shinryu Takahashi recently fought on an overseas UFC feeder show, and flyweight Seiichiro Ito signed to Pancrase. Will Ryzen build a flyweight division around Hiromasa Ugikubo, who obviously, he's going back down to flyweight for this next fight, the trilogy with Horiguchi, but what is there to say about building around him the whole division, Shingo?
Yeah, well, obviously Horiguchi is a Bellator fighter, and Horiguchi, we can't really talk about Horiguchi because whatever Bellator wants and decides, that's their decision. But as far as our flyweight division, definitely yes. Horiguchi coming down to flyweight and fighting at flyweight in Japan is definitely it's a statement. But Ugikubo has always expressed the fact that he wants to fight at flyweight. He would prefer to fight at flyweight. If he were to take on international tough competition, he believes that he would be able to do a lot better at a flyweight division. The good thing about it is that right now, Deep is a Japanese promotion we have a really good relationship with. They have their flyweight Grand Prix going on right now. And they have a lot of talented Japanese flyweights. And I think right now they're at the semifinals. But all these fighters who are left in the Grand Prix, they're all legitimate fighters. They're all young and up and coming guys. So I think it's going to be a mixture of the veteran fighters and then the upcoming flyweight Japanese fighters, and then mix in some international fighters. We just signed John Dodson, and there's plenty of more talent out there internationally at flyweight. We've been talking with several promotions, we've been talking with several managers, and we have the tools to definitely emphasize the flyweight division in 2013. So we have our veterans, we have our prospects, we have our international talent. A lot of good things to come.
Yeah, of course. And I got to kind of go back to Horiguchi though for a quick second here, Shingo, because he's technically still the Rizin Bantamweight champion, right?
Yes, technically, yes.
Yes. So, in my opinion, I think at this point, if he's not going to defend it, it's time to get the thing off of him. This is just my personal opinion, but is there any chance of this happening? What's the idea, I guess, going forward with the belt? Because obviously the Bantamweight division is great. So many guys there that can, fight for it. And obviously Ugi Koba won the tournament and all that. So they're still having their Bantamweight title fight is kind of at a different weight class right now. But what's kind of the idea behind that belt specifically at the moment?
Yeah, it all depends. It's all about communication and talking with the fighters. I mean, obviously, like I said, Horiguchi is technically our champion, but he is, he's a Bellator contract fighter. So, and if Horiguchi decides to stay at flyweight, if he doesn't want to fight at bantamweight, I don't know. I mean, it only makes sense that he returns the belt and title.
Right, for sure. So I guess we'll see how it plays out then. But all right. Moving on. Last one for King Seo here. He says there are a lot of Japanese combat sporting events at the end of December with Rise/Shootboxing, Glory, Pancrase, Ganrujima, IGF, Moat Fight returns, Gleet MMA, and boxing, all these things. Is the Japanese combat sports market somehow better than it was before COVID? I like this question, Shingo. What do you think?
Is it better before COVID?
Better than it was before.
Sure,
better now.
If you just look at the lineups you just mentioned, there are new organizations that are putting on shows. You've never heard of GLEAT before. It's very new. It's a very new organization. There's a lot of the good thing about it is that there's pre-COVID, it was all these seasoned veteran promoters that are on events, right? And now these days you see a lot of young and ambitious promoters starting their own thing, and I think that's a great movement because it's not just the experienced veteran promoters that kind of rule and control the market anymore. We have these young and ambitious promoters, which always creates a healthy competition, right? And it gives the fighters more options on where they can participate in. And more promotions, more options means it means that there's going to be the more competition, and that trickles down to like more competition amongst each gym. The pie of fighters is growing. Mm-hmm. So just looking at this, I guess, just looking at December events in Japan, you can see that, the industry it's healthy. It's trying to get back to where it used to be.
Making up for the lost time.
Definitely. And it's not just the people who existed before pre-COVID, but there are new players in this industry. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, hard to disagree. I mean, you just look at kind of the success of just the entire scene. Obviously, the match stands out as a very big moment that we had recently, and then just he really highlights it with all these things going on. So of course, it's very good to see. Very good to get back to some normality again. I know 2022's kind of been back there for the most part, but as it keeps getting away from us now, heading into 2023, only going to get better. I would say. And fingers crossed, anyways. No, knock on wood for nothing like that again. As I just got over my second case of the COVID, Shingo, so that was fun. But we're still kicking. So, all right, thank you for those. King CO24, as always, you are the man. I would have to go back and check, but I think you've probably asked for every episode. So we greatly appreciate that, sir. The support as always. And then we go on to Ozeki Jim. So he's also a reoccurring asker. Appreciate him. So his first question here is one that I believe, we just had the online virtual press conference yesterday, right, with Sakakibara and Koike. I know you were there for Shingo. I popped in for a little bit, was kind of busy. But Scott's kind of talked about it already in terms of the negotiations and what has gone on, because Jim here is asking, can you share any info on what the initial discussions / negotiations were like for Rizin versus Bellator? The concept of 5 of the best from each side is awesome, but he imagines there were some reservations from both sides. So, I mean, this has kind of been discussed already, but just kind of going over it again, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to say. I mean, it's probably going to be I'm going to be repeating what Scott Coker answered yesterday. It's actually he just called me right
now. Put him on.
All right. Well, that was unusual. But, just how Scott I mentioned, like, our first collaboration, Bellator Japan back in 2019, it was a great success, and everybody was happy, and we were definitely talking about doing it again. So when should we do this? And then COVID hit, right? And so the idea has always been there about doing a co-promoted event, but the COVID just got in the way. We just kept on pushing it back, and so finally this year, Japan has finally opened up, and it became possible to do something. So we're definitely talking about early this year on, trying to do something. And if we were to do it, it's got to be big. It's got to make sense. And, Scott, at the very beginning of the conversation, it wasn't, the matchmaking wasn't like this. It wasn't the best, but, it would be more, because there's always a risk when you do the best of the best, right? An ideal co-promoted event would be one organization winning 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Back in 2019, we kind of did it 5 versus 5 over the course of 2 events, and Bellator won 3-2. So, but that was, that wasn't us putting our best against their best.
Right.
But for this one, Scott was like, so what kind of matchups are you looking for? And then Sakakibara's answered that let's bring the best. We want your best, and we'll put out our best. And Scott Coker delivered, and Sakakibara-san responded with the best that we have. So, I mean, it's a long story short. Obviously, like I said in the beginning, it's got to make business sense. Everything's got to make sense, and everybody has to win out of the co-promotion. So, those are the basics. We have to come to those, and then the matchmaking comes. But after just a long road of bumps and bruises, we're finally here and we're making this happen. So, we're very happy and we're very excited to be able to do this on New Year's Eve.
Still kind of tripping. That was kind of scary timing, right when we mentioned it. It's like he's listening to us. Because obviously...
Yeah, no, I told him that I should be free by 3:30.
Okay. Yes, we were about wrapping up here anyway. So sorry, Mr. Koker. But Ozeki Jim, then he asks about Rizin Landmark. Shingo says, is the concept of Landmark taking place at unique events finished, or could we see something similar return next year, 2023?
Yeah, the idea of Rizin Landmark, it's still there, and we're most likely gonna throw some Landmark events next year as well.
All right, very cool. And to cap it off, he asks about Mikaru, who apparently says Mikaru is breaking down events, keep getting more and more popular. I'm assuming this is something he's doing on YouTube. Is there a chance we could see some Rizin / breaking down crossover in 2023 working together?
I don't know. I mean, is there a demand for that?
I mean, he's asking about it.
I mean, if there is, I'm sure if Sakakibara-san's philosophy is that if there's a demand and if people want to see it, he'll try to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's the best answer I can give.
Yeah.
You see, there's a lot of talks and opinions raised about, what Mikura Sakura is doing. But if it's gaining popularity, I'm sure he's doing something right. So, and if there's a demand of Breaking Down versus Ryzen, I know Sakakibara-san's kind of the promoter that he would want to try to make something happen if there's a demand, if it makes sense. And if people want to see it. Paying people want to see it.
Yeah. Oh, geez, I mean, Shingo, that'd be kind of taking one of your jobs. I know you do the breaking down stuff with Kurumi a little bit, don't you? Or is that just talking about the fights?
yeah. That's just talking about the fight, but their breaking down is just something different. I'm not sure what it is. I can't really, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I have not seen it myself either, but I'll definitely have to give it a look now after bringing it up. So appreciate that one, Ozeki Jim, and appreciate your questions always, as we do everybody's. So that will wrap up the final session of the community questions here for the year 2022. Another in the books. Broadened Horizon episode 22. My goodness, getting up there in the numbers, almost to the quarter mark. Gonna hit that here early in 2023, of course. But we appreciate you guys so much for tuning in each and every month for the very fun times we have here on Broadened Horizon, and for the great events that are always being put out there, and a big New Year's Eve event as always. So thank you so much, you guys, as always, for tuning in. Remember to support the show, support the channel, support Ryzen. Stay tuned for what's coming in the future, as we're going to close out the year big, and then we'll start off the new one great as always. So until next time, you guys, take care.